Welcome back to the Charles in Charge Cowboys Sports Report. It's about 3:50 p.m., 50 minutes after the deadline. Halloween day. We make no move at all. The top 5 teams in the NFC: Philly, San Fran, Detroit, Seattle, and us. The other 4 teams all make moves. One last week, and the other 3 this week. Philly goes out and gets all-pro safety Kevin Byard. Feels the need. Detroit, right before the deadline, trades for Cleveland to get Donovan Peoples-Jones to help out that aerial attack. Seattle trades with the Giants to get Leonard Williams, help beef up that defensive tackle area that they're weak at. In Seattle, who do they go get? No, that was Seattle gets Leonard Williams to help beef up that interior of the defensive line where they're weak at. And San Francisco trades for Chase Young from Washington, who had a great 2020 rookie season. Hadn't done much since, but still. During the season, they traded for Randy Gregory, our old guy, and now Chase Young, since their front four hasn't been getting pressure the last 3 games. We had plenty of time to make a trade. Last night, the most viable candidate that we could have gotten was cornerback Jalen Johnson from the Bears. Last night, when him and the Bears were trying to talk up a deal for an extension and talks fell through, they gave him permission to seek a trade. It was us, San Fran, and Buffalo were the top 3 people. We were on the phone with Chicago today. We could have gotten Jalen Johnson for a 2nd and a 6th. Last season, when they couldn't come to a deal with Roquan Smith, they traded him to Baltimore for a 2nd and a 5th. Now he is the leader of that Ravens defense, and Baltimore's rolling. Yes, Jalen Johnson would have been a 1-year rental probably. We could have gotten him for a 2nd and a 6th, most likely. Hell, throw Nashawn Wright in there also. Get his ass out of here. Why isn't Nashawn Wright even on the roster? We traded Kevin Joseph to Miami, and he's been a healthy scratch the whole time he's been there. You trade a 2nd and a 6th and just say Nashawn Wright for Jalen Johnson. And he plays great this season. I mean, hell, his PFF grade's 85. He plays opposite Gilmore. He put Diggs back in the slot. And basically, you got 3 cornerbacks that are number 1 caliber corners. So DeRon Bland goes back into the slot, and the team puts the number 1 receiver in the slot. They're going up against the number 1, caliber corner, as DeRon Bland has evolved into. But no, and on top of that, if you make that trade, and after the season, we don't know how, Diggs will look next season coming off that tear. It might take him a year to get back to himself. So you could tag Jalen Johnson, keep him there for 1 more season, or if you let him walk, you get a third round comp pick back. 3rd round. So basically, you're giving a 2nd round pick and a 6th, and you get a 3rd back in the offseason if you choose not to retain the man. Not him. Ezra Cleveland, lineman out of Minnesota, former 2nd round pick, above average player, can play left tackle, left guard. Jacksonville gets him for a day 3 pick. He is light years better than Chuma Edoga. We don't know what Akeem Richards is yet. He plays left tackle, left guard. Both positions. Hell, you could have thrown, there was many moves we could have made. No guts, no glory. Jerry Jones wants to keep talking this shit that you wouldn't believe the check that he'd write to another Super Bowl. I am starting to wonder if he even really wants to win another Super Bowl, or if he just wants to be relevant every season and be the topic of conversation every season. But I think who's really behind it is Stephen Jones. Stephen Jones started to take over in 2014. really started to take over on personnel decisions. Whenever Jerry wanted to draft Johnny and Steven said, no, we're taking Zach Martin. That was a good move, yes. But if you keep on making moves and building your team for the next year and, to make sure that you're in contention next year, that's not going to get you to where you want to be this year. The future is now. There was a coach back in my father's day that I can't remember his name. They used to always say the future is now. And that has never been more true. We have a very good team. During the bye week, it looks like Mike McCarthy and Brian Shoddy got together and said, hey, you know what? Our offense looks really bad. How about we uncuff the offense and let Dak cook? The Rams defense, only guy that you really know by name is Aaron Donald. They have a lot of youngsters on that defense, but all season they allowed 4 passing touchdowns. All season. They allowed 4 touchdowns through the air. Dak threw for 4 against them. And they weren't just all short fields. This team is very, very good. We traded a 5th and a 6th during the offseason. And a 4th for Trey Lance. Now, I'm not sure we should have done the Trey Lance trade, but we did. Had we have had that 4th round pick, maybe we'd have made a trade by the deadline. But maybe Steven's way of thinking is, well, in the offseason we traded for Gilmore, Cooks, and we traded for Lance. In the beginning of the season, we so what? You continue to get better. Every team has a weakness. Philly's weakness is their secondary. That's been well documented. So they go out and they get a player to replace Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, basically. Seattle's weakness is their interior defensive line. So they go out and they get a Leonard Williams. The Lions want to be more dominant offensively. They have weapons on offense, but they go out and get Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's a very good wide receiver number 3. He can be a good 2 or 3 for you, depending on who you have. And San Fran goes out and gets Chase Young, and they already got Randy Gregory earlier in the season. They traded for him with Denver. They didn't sign him as a free agent. They traded for him. They went to get him so they didn't have to go in a bidding war with other teams. And Randy Gregory has looked good. He looks like he's humbled. He doesn't look like the Randy Gregory that went to Denver in 2021. No, it was last season. He doesn't look like the Randy Gregory that went to Denver last season. He looks like the humbled Randy Gregory, and the Gregory that's just playing with his raw talent and ability and putting all the other BS to the side. You continue to do as much as you can to make your team better. General managers make these moves to put the best possible product they can on the field. John Lynch for the 49ers is doing everything he can, burning the candles at both ends to put the best product he can on the field. Last season, they traded for Christian McCaffrey. This season, they make 2 trades for 2 edge rushers so they can keep that 4-man front getting pressure. The last 3 games, they haven't been getting pressure with 4-man fronts. So they go get a Chase Young for a 3rd-round pick. He could be a boomer bust. He ain't done much since 2020, but he could revive in San Fran. You never know. And Washington traded Montez Sweat to Chicago, which makes absolutely no sense. But that's good for us for Thanksgiving because we ain't got to worry about Young or Sweat off the edge. Probably be a blowout win. But these general managers, like Howie Roseman, burning the candle at both ends to put the best possible product on the field, because if they don't, they can get fired. Stephen Jones, with that dumbass grin he always has on his face, and the statement that we like our guys, when he says that about a group of players that haven't won anything, it has got to be one of the dumbest statements in NFL history. We like our guys. Now, if he's saying that about a team that's won a Super Bowl, went to a Super Bowl, or maybe even went to an NFC Championship game, I can buy that. I'll buy that. But when he's talking that mess, that line that's become a line, hell, they should print T-shirts. We like our guys. About a unit that has not gotten past the second round, bullshit. I call bullshit on that. And they have plenty of time till 3 p.m. Central today to pull the trigger on a trade. And Jalen Johnson would have been awesome. He would have made our defense mega good. Mega good. We would have had 3 corners that can play to a corner number 1 potential. I mean, Jalen Johnson is a corner number 1. Gilmore at 33 is still a CB1. And Deron Bland is becoming a cornerback 1 right now. He's getting better week in and week out, and we see it. Yeah, he gets the Chargers twice. He got beat on double moves by Keenan Allen, a savvy veteran. You know, that happens. I mean, hell, Sauce Gardner has gotten burnt plenty of times this season. But Deron Bland has 3 pick sixes. 1 away from the NFL record, 2 away from breaking it, and he's got 10 games to do it. Looking very much like the 2021 Trayvon Diggs. Very much like it. Or it could be better. We'll see. I mean, like I said, we got 10 games to go. But of all the possible trades that we could have made, help the offensive line get better. Chuma Doga is not a good left tackle. Not a good backup left tackle is not. The very first play of the Rams game, what happened? He got whooped. That got sacked. Could have been really bad. Could have been a strip sack. Because that's the blind side. You know 77's not going to play every game. He might play every other game, not every game this season. So why not get a better left tackle? Why not? Ezra Cleveland for a day 3 pick. Or is that too rich for their blood? Derrick Henry. Last year of his contract. It's not like you have to pay the man for the next 5 years. You could have went out. You could have made it happen if you wanted to, Jerry and Steven. And the old Jerry would have. But Steven, who has more control than Jerry does, no matter who tells you what, Steven's the one that's pulling the strings now. Jerry trusts his son because they like their guys. Last season, when we had Elliott and he was banging up against the defensive line, softening them up, and then we give it to Tony Pollard. Pollard busts his 15, 20-yard runs. That's how that worked. Now that Pollards are featured back, he's not banging that defensive line, softening it up. Get Derrick Henry for 1 season. I don't care if it's $12 million. I don't care. We have the money to pay for that. We have the money. You get a Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry and Tony Pollard would have been the best 1-2 combo running back punch we've seen in recent years. Better than Kamara, Ingram, better than Chubb and Hunt. Leonard Fournette just got picked up by the Bills on the practice squad. They're going to keep the tires on him. See if playoff Lenny can be playoff Lenny. And speaking of that, getting a player that seems to come alive in the postseason, not a bad idea. Since we seem to have trouble in January. Maybe we kick the tires on Greedy Williams, bring him on. See if Dan Quinn can't make him into something better, at least better than Deshaun Wright. I mean, that can't be that hard. Deshaun Wright can't cover the broadside of a barn. Neither could Kelvin Joseph. Maybe bring in Greedy Williams. Kick the tires on him because we are 1 injury away. Bland, Gilly, or Lewis, one of those 3 guys go down, it's trouble. Now, if Jordan Lewis goes down, we could still be okay because Israel Mukuamu can play slot corner pretty decent. Not as good as Jordan Lewis. Jordan Lewis has been doing this since 2017. He's been the slot guy since 2017. But the whole fact to get Jalen Johnson was to effectively replace Diggs as good as you can and get back to what we had week 1, which was a good young guy in his 4th year, which Trayvon Diggs was in his 4th year, so was Jalen Johnson, both drafted in 2020, playing at the top of their game, opposite Gilmore and Deron Bland in the slot. so you can play man coverage, cover one, load the box, and have an elite defense. Defense still going to be good, but we got to stay healthy. Bottom line, Mozzie Smith needs to start making his presence known. Jonathan Hankins doing a good job on the interior. Mozzie, the gorilla from Michigan, needs to start making his presence known. We need to start hearing his name during the game. Like Osi Digizua in his third season of finally having a breakout year. He's a 3 technique. Mozzie's a 1 technique. We need to start seeing his name. We need to start hearing Schoonmaker's name being called during the game. We need to see him start making plays, making key blocks. We need to see Viliami Fehoko Jr. be good enough to not be a healthy scratch the first 7 games. We need to see him on the field. He's a tweener. He can play end or 3 technique tackle. And I had big hopes for Viliami Fehoko Jr., but he hasn't played a snap all season. Eric Scott Jr., cornerback. In the 6th round, we traded up to get that cat. First pick in the 6th round. He's been a healthy scratch all season. Some of these rookies need to start making their presence felt. It's a shame DeMarvion Overshown towards ACL getting ready to play the Giants. It is a damn shame because that boy looks special. But him and Diggs will be back next season, but that's next season. Our rookies, Mozzie, Schoon, Viliami Fehoko, Asim Richards probably won't see playing time. I mean, he suits up every game. Eric Scott Jr. And then our 7th round pick, who actually made the roster, the receiver. I can't remember that guy's name. I remember everything. He's been a healthy scratch every game. Jalen Tolbert hasn't really done anything. So, against a lesser opponent, why not activate the 7th round rookie and see what he can do? You never know. He could, sometimes players don't look too good in practice. That's why they're a backup. But when they're in an actual game, all of a sudden something clicks and they play different. Last season, Brock Purdy was the 3rd quarterback because in practice, he wasn't out playing Trey Lance or Jimmy G. But when it came down to game time, he did. I'm disappointed we did not make one freaking move before the deadline. When last season, we made one, almost 2. We were that close to getting Brandon Cooks before the trade deadline. After we got Jonathan Hankins. Us not making a move tells me something I don't want to hear. Now, we're still a very good team. I wouldn't mind us kicking the tires on some free agents out there, seeing what we can get. But us not pulling the trigger for anybody, and it was 15 players that fit, that would have fit. 15 players that would have fit, and we don't pull the trigger on any of them. Why? Because we made 2 trades in the offseason, and we traded for Trey Lance this year. Trey Lance, who doesn't play. So the fuck what? Trey Lance, that trade don't count. The 2 trades we made in the offseason, that's the offseason. We see what the teams are now. We see what the Lions and Seattle are. We see what Philly, we see what San Fran is. We see what we are. That's why you make in-season trades, to fill needs if you are contending for a championship. And 4 out of the 5 NFC teams that are made moves, we didn't, because we like our guys. They really went far. That's just my take on it, guys. Put your comments down below. Let me know what you think. I'll catch y'all on Sunday whenever we wax them Eagles. That's going to be a big game right there. If we let Dak cook, uncuff Dak, and just let him ball out with Lamb, Cooks, Turpin, Gallup. Gallup needs to just get over that mental block in his head, trust his knee, cut like he used to cut, knowing that his knee will hold up. He'll be just fine. But he's got to get past that mental block. MG13 ain't done yet. And our defense needs to come out and ball out against that Philly offense. When Mike Greenberg asked Rex Ryan which defense he'd take in that game, he said he'd take the Cowboys defense in that game. Which I like that because if anybody knows defenses, we know Rex Ryan does. But that's for the pregame show. That's it. It's Halloween. It's time to get with the kids, get them ready for trick-or-treating and whatnot. But damn it, Jerry and Steven, grow some damn balls, man. Charles in charge. Hey, please subscribe, like, and share, guys. Help me get to at least 500 by this season. Zend. 500 subscribers. I'm at like 347. Please subscribe, like, and share, guys. I guarantee you this show will become one of the biggest shows that y'all will look forward to watching. Just like Law Nation. I love watching a Law show. I love calling in. This show will reach those plateaus in time, but I need y'all's support. My brothers and sisters that bleed the silver and blue that I bleed. If y'all are as passionate as I am, hit that red subscribe button, guys. I will bring y'all first-class content all day, every day. My first game was Super Bowl 28 against Buffalo in the Georgia Dome, and I've been watching ever since. Played my entire youth, been a student of the game. With me, it's God, family, Cowboys, and a country. That's how big the Cowboys are in my life. Like in the Fast and the Furious, when Dominic Toretto is talking to Brian O'Connor, and he's like, for those 10 seconds or less, I'm free. Well, every Sunday, for those 3.5 hours or less, I'm free. That's kind of how it works for me. Any problems I have in life, go away for those 3.5 hours. All right, guys, that's it for this episode. I'll catch y'all. What is today? Tuesday. I'll catch y'all probably Thursday or Friday. Charles in Charge is out.